Pandiculation. Our innate response to the sensations of lack of movement and to tension building up in our muscles. The body naturally stretches due to a combination of factors, including the need to wake up muscles and improve circulation after periods of inactivity or rest, and relieve muscle tension and stiffness. Hi, welcome to my podcast. I know this. The reason I chose that title is because I'm a massage therapist, and as a massage therapist, I like to go on deep dives and find things of interest that pertain to healthcare and anything that will help longevity of life. Because as science has proven, and as many humans have proven, that we can live to beyond 60, 70, 80, even into 100. Our bodies can last that long, genetic factors aside, all if you take care of yourself and do the things to get yourself to that point. Now, the question is, are you the type of person that, once you've retired from work and you're saying your 60s and 70s, do you want to try to live on to your 80s, 90s, and even 100? Or just let the universe do as it does, and when it's your time, it's your time? I've worked on hundreds of clients, and whenever I've asked that question, I've gotten some on this side that are like, oh, when my time is here, it's here, whatever. I don't want to try to live long beyond that, right? Some have no interest in that. And then you have some in the middle that are just kind of like, if it happens, it happens, whatever. And then you have people like me where, yes, I want to see where this roller coaster takes us. I want to see how long I can live. I would love to be able to live beyond 100 and still be able to, get up and move around. That's me. The thing is, glories of this planet is filled with billions of human beings. And you can fit us all into the same bubble in the fact that we're human and we bleed red. But outside of that, there are so many different factors. You can have a group of 20 to 30-year-old Black women, and even within that group, or 20 to 30-year-old white women, or 20 to 30-year-old Asian women, whatever, within that group, now you start picking off the differences within that group. Because just because you're all 20 to 30 and you're all Black, well, how many of you are diabetic? How many of you are obese? How many of you are anorexic? How many of you are dealing with mental issues? How many of you are dealing with, there are so many factors that can change the outcome of whatever it is you're doing. Whatever, doctors like to lump everybody in the same category, in the same bubble, and give the same kind of treatment. And you can't do that, because certain factors will then change the outcome of whatever treatment you're given. And so this podcast, like I said, I like to go on deep dives on topics that I find interesting that pertain to healthcare and the longevity of healthcare. And, it's unfortunate that there's a lot of misinformation. Now, do I have years of college? Do I have bachelor's, master's, PhD under my name? No. Just because you have those under your name, does that make you exponentially qualified? No, it's just because you went to school and you studied the books, because you can find a group of doctors, right, that went to school, went to med school, studied the same stuff, same general stuff, but you'll have a group of doctors on this side that say, no, 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 this is wrong. Don't believe in this is the way that you go for treatment. And you'll have a group of doctors on this side with the same schooling, learn the same general things that doctors learn. If you're a doctor, same general things. If you're a physical therapist, if you're a chiropractor, you all learn the same general premise. Then outside of that, you have religious beliefs, you have political beliefs, you have you have some physical therapists or doctors or chiropractors or massage therapists that go to school, learn the same general premise, but then you've got some that just fly under the radar. They went to school, got their degree, and now they're just doing the bare minimum. Okay? Because that's a fact. All right? That is fact. And then you've got those that go above and beyond, that think outside of the box, that continue to further their education and, and then go into different realms of their field. You got doctors that then go into private practice. You've got doctors that then want to become surgeons. You've got doctors that want to become pediatricians, you know, massage therapists that learned the same general premise. Then you have some that go on. I had friends that go on to, they're massaging animals, horses, stuff like that, right? And then you have massage therapists that are massaging people. But you have some, like I have a couple of friends that do MFR. They went to training for that. And that is what they solely believe in. They solely believe that that is the way to relieve the tensions and stuff like that. And that is what they believe in. You've got some that are into trigger point therapy, and that's all they do throughout their treatment. There are some, it varies, right? And people within these fields all have their own beliefs. Okay. And you've got then groups within those fields that have the same kind of general premise when it comes to their fields of study. All right. So you can take my podcast and the things that I put out there, and you could take the links that I will include after every podcast, and you can do your own research. A lot of people don't even have that kind of time. A lot of people that are, you come into this world and you're not given the book of life on how to be, because everybody's different and they have their own viewpoints. Can you imagine a world where everybody felt the same, thought the same, have the same beliefs? How boring. I tell my boys, I have three beautiful kids, and I tell them that, we have enough ugly people in this world, miserable, hateful people in this world. We do not need to add to that. Okay. And that's unfortunate. And no matter what, there's always going to be, we kind of need that balance. We need the ugliness to then, you can then decide, do you want to be on that side of ugly, or do you want to be on this side of goodness? And most people want to be on this side of goodness. Most people want to be on the side where everybody gets along and is good, not necessarily have the exact same viewpoints and the exact same thoughts and feelings, but on the side, you can still disagree with each other, but still be kind about it. You have people on this side that are just ugly and evil and closed-minded and can't think outside of the box and can't think outside of their realm of beliefs and thoughts, and they're totally closed-minded. And so anything that is different from their thinking and their thought process is and I used to be that person. I totally used to be that person. You couldn't tell me anything. You couldn't tell me anything different from what I felt and I believed. And it wasn't until, and this is through years of therapy and years of self improvement, and am I 100%? Absolutely not. But it's a work in progress. But since becoming a more open minded person, I have learned to be able to take in other ideas, other opinions, other thoughts, and listen to that and think, okay, I can see that. Or, yeah, still don't see it, right? Well, that's the problem with our world. We want to be in a world where, and you hear people say, let's have the conversation, let's talk about it. Even with, we've entered into this world of what the fuckery, like what the heck is going on? It's crazy. Even, and I feel that it's social media, it's the internet. Our once closed world has now become this huge, vast place because of the internet. You can reach out to people all around the world. And the problem with that is now you've got all of these thoughts and opinions and views, and then you got social media that where I'm on these different mom groups, okay? And I'm going to veer off topic here. I know this particular podcast, my first podcast, is supposed to be about stretching, and I'm kind of going, I tend to do that, and I'll do that in each one of my podcasts. And you're more than welcome to skip forward to the part where I start actually talking about stretching, or you can continue to listen to what I have to say. But I'm on these different social media groups, on different mom groups and then Vancouver groups, and it's like if you make a post, case in point, I made this one about I had went grocery shopping, picked up a couple of things, and I don't typically check the expiration date on my groceries because I don't know, that's the job of the store clerks. But, if I open my mind and think about the bigger picture, a lot of these store clerks are younger people or people that are disgruntled or people that they're not happy with what they're getting paid. Maybe they have bills up the yin yang and they're just like, I don't care, you know. Or there are times where someone's actually doing their job and they may miss. Okay, I do understand that. But the thing is, you get people that lash out on you, and they're so evil. Not everybody. You got a lot of people on there that are like, oh, that's raunchy, or sorry that happened to you, or hey, do you check your expiration? Like again, most people don't typically check the expiration when they're going shopping, but there are people that do. So now I find that I'm going to be in that realm of people that have to check the expiration date. But my point is, people just get so ugly. I wasn't bitching. I wasn't like making this a huge thing. I wasn't like, no, I was just simply saying, hey, folks, check the expiration because this is kind of frustrating. Went and shopping and went and bought this and it's a couple of days past. I do, yes, understand that not everything is bad past the expiration date. I get that. Okay, I'm not an idiot. But just because I make a post on there, people are like, wow, calm down, calm down. Jeez. Anywho, like I was saying, I'm just a massage therapist with 15 years of experience in massage. I go on deep dives. I read a lot. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I follow a lot of different doctors, physical therapists, chiropractors, researchers that do go on these deep dives and do spend the time. And so I listen to what they say, I read what they say, and then I take all of that in, and then I give my viewpoint on what I feel on the topic. Because I find even on some of these other podcasts where they talk about some of the things that I am going to talk about, that some things are missing, that they leave out, that change the narrative. And that's the problem with our news media, right? And any person that does research is like they'll leave out things that change the narrative to make it conducive to what they're trying to put out, right? And I will put in the negatives, the pros and cons, what other people have to say versus what I have to say. And as a person, as a human being, you can take that and and make your choice and decision on what you feel on that topic, right? So I'm just here to have a conversation. So feel free to leave in the comments, or I'll leave my email. You can leave in the comments. You can shoot me an email because I am down to have an intellectual, positive conversation. All of the ugliness, all of the people that have, not the ones that disagree with me, because I want to have a conversation with you. I'm talking about the people that are like, you don't know what you're saying. The ones that are being ugly about it, right? Because as Joe Rogan says, don't read the comments. Okay. If you fester on the comments, and I kind of believe in that. And again, I don't, because I feel that you take in those comments and it's, it's up to you as an individual how strong you can be with reading those comments and how you take that in. Now you can read those comments and be like, or you can take it in and be like, okay, okay. Why do you feel that way? Why are you being that ugly? Why are you lashing out that way? Let's talk about it, right? I'm not here to be this nasty, ugly individual like a good chunk of the population is. I just am a fun loving, positive individual. You don't know me. I don't know you. I'm just a massage therapist that's trying to put out information that I find interesting and put it out there to you to hopefully generate some conversation, is all. So, again, I will leave links, and you can look that up. I'll leave links to podcasts that I listen to. And if you're not a podcast well, that's dumb because obviously, if you're listening to this, you're a podcast listener. If you know anybody out there that's not a podcast listener, please share this and get them on the bandwagon of listening to podcasts because podcasts are the greatest invention. I think they are. And this podcast is on stretching because going back to what I was saying before, you will have doctors, chiropractors, massage therapists, physical therapists that all study, in their fields, the same general premise, right? Then, outside of all of that group, then you've got group over here, group over here, group over here that, this group will say, if we're talking about the topic of stretching, since that's what this one's about, you will have group over here that are all about, no, 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 you don't need to stretch. Stretching, it's just a fad. You don't need to do it. You can do resistance training and that will take care of it, blah, blah, blah. You will have this side over here that are like, yes, absolutely 100%. Everybody should be stretching. And these are the stretches and this is what works. One size fits all, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And then you have the group in the middle that's, yes, stretching is important. However, you have to take each person on an individual basis. Okay. You can't lump everybody into the same group. Okay. Going back to our healthcare system, where back in the day, until they finally changed it, where all of the research was done on the white man. And so then when treatments were being done, it was based on the white man. Okay. So you would give for heart problems, if there was heart problems, heart issues, take aspirin. They were trying to give that to white women or just to women in general. Well, they found out that that was causing more problems. You can't do that. Black women, Asian women, Hispanic women, whatever, you can't give them all the same treatment as the white man. And even within those groups of women, you can't give the same kind of treatment. The same goes for stretching. You can't lump everybody into the same group and tell everybody, yes, you all should be stretching. Everybody should be stretching and you all should be doing these kind of stretches for this long. Like you can't do that. You've got hypermobile people. You've got people that, you've got genetic factors. So there may be certain genetic triggers that may be preventing certain stretches or stretching, to happen to be able to effectively, you've got to come about that in a different way. Even with the hypermobile people, you've got to come about it in a different way. Certain athletes, when you have athletes that are um, shot put or baseball pitchers throwing the ball. You've got people that, sprinters sprinting off the block. If you get in there and you're before a competition, you're getting there and you're digging away and you're breaking up all of those knots and trigger points and stretching that out and you're having them sit there and you do stretches and hold that for 30 seconds before now you've messed up their game. That may be the thing that was good for them. Now, that being said, for this particular individual, if you've gotten there and you've grinded it up and you've told them to stretch, that tightness that they had was probably their game. That was probably what gave them that sprint. If you break all that up, now you've messed it up, and now they can injure themselves, right? So you've got to take each person on an individual basis, and within the sports and within whatever they're doing, and dynamic stretching before a game for pitcher, or a tennis player, or certain athletes. Dynamic stretching may be better for them before a game, rather than static stretching. um, when you're doing certain stretches for an individual, PNF stretching may work better for a person. If you have a person on a certain stretch routine, and you're like, I've been doing these stretches forever and I'm just not noticing a difference. Well, keep stretching. Maybe you're not doing it right. Well, maybe PNF stretching might work for that person. You just got to take each person on an individual basis and find what works for that person. You can't lump everybody into the same bubble and one size fits all, because we don't live in that kind of world where one size fits all. Correct. So, in this podcast, again, I'm talking about stretching. Should we be stretching? How long we should be stretching? The importance of it, lack of it. Is it important? Is it not important? Um, the different types of stretches that there are. And these are things that in all my years of doing massage, when I talk to a lot of my different clients, it's just fascinating how much people don't realize or understand or even know. Sometimes I'm like, are you messing with me? Are you like, are you being serious? Like, are you just trying to be nice? Um, but it's like I tell my boys, if you don't learn something, if you don't know something, if something is not ever in your line of sight, in your world, if you've never heard of it, how are you supposed to know about it? Right? We don't come into this world knowing everything, right? And nobody in this world, not even the smartest person in this world, knows everything. Not even people that have gone to college, gone 4 years, not doctors, not lawyers. No one knows everything. I work on doctors. I work on physical therapists. I work on chiropractors. I work on, a whole span of people. And when I talk to different individuals, and I talk to, healthcare, or the stretching, or, different things, and I bring up certain things, well, I didn't know that. If you don't know, you don't know. Not everybody knows everything. And if you're not paying attention, you don't know. A lot of people are, they're a lot of people that are focused, maybe hyper focused on their career path, on their family paths, on whatever path they are. They're super focused that it's like this force field, these blinders, and all of this new stuff they're oblivious to, or just stuff that's been around for a long time they're oblivious to, because if it's never been in your path, how are you ever supposed to know? There's a lot of things that I learned even through stretching. I thought I knew, what I knew about stretching, but even going on these deep dives, a lot of stuff I didn't even know about it. So again, going back to the fact that everybody, thinks differently as far as doctors, physical therapists, chiropractors, you know, they all feel different about the importance of stretching and if you should stretch or not. And again, in stressing the importance that there are so many factors that you have to take in. Genetic factors. Is the person obese? Is the person diabetic? Is the person hypermobile? Um, is the person autoimmune? All of these different factors that come into play when you're doing anything. Massage. So let's talk about the realm of massage. Okay, all of those factors you have to take into account. What baffles me, what baffles me is the fact that you can go on Amazon, or you can go to different places and you can order cups for cupping. You can order the massage guns. You can order all these different things online, for you, which is crazy to me. Those only should be left to people in those fields that study and take the continuing education and know about these things, because there are contraindications. Okay. Um, so going off topic here of stretching, I'm just kind of bringing it all together as far as trying to lump everyone into the same bubble. And you have all of these different things that come out that people then jump on the bandwagon to try, because everybody's lumped into the same bubble. And you can't do that because there are so many factors that you have to consider. And the fact that just a regular individual that is not studying this stuff, that doesn't know this stuff, there are contraindications. Contraindications. Some people have never even heard of that word and didn't even realize. In fact, case in point, I was just talking to a client last night who didn't even realize contraindications of cupping. Didn't even realize, oh, I just thought you could just get cupping. Anybody can get cupping and it's fine. No, if you have heart problems, if you have, I mean, the list goes on. The contraindications right here of cupping alone. But yet you can go online and go buy cups. And if you're not a massage therapist or someone who's qualified, and you just get in there and you start placing these cups on areas, oh my God, I got these, varicose veins. Let me put the cups on there, maybe see if that takes care of that, right? It's terrible. You're not supposed to do that. There are certain things that you should not, if you have issues where you should not use cupping. But yet, or the massage gun. Okay. I've heard people that use it all up and down in here and even in the head. Say, when they came out with the inversion tables, they're amazing. But when those came out, everybody flocked to go get one. And then boom, injuries ensued because everybody thought, because, you had whoever, when it came out, it was, oh, this is the thing, because a lot of people that have back problems were like, yes, if this is going to help my back problem, yes. But the problem with that is, if you have a weak core and you have back issues, you're on this inversion table and you're stretching that out. Ooh, that feels so good. And then you come off of that and then, okay, without even slowly coming out of it, you come off of that and now, boom, now you've just intensified the injuries, okay? You've just made it a gazillion times worse. There were the injury rate, the emergency room visits, the doctor visits after the inversion tables came out just went up for people with their back issues and the injuries that happen because of that. You know, foam rollers, and the foam rollers are the most amazing thing. I love them, but if used correctly, those came out. I did a podcast on that. I did a research on that. I'll go find the information and I'll do an update and bring that over to this podcast. But my case in point is all of these things that are out there, the massage gun, the cups that are out there, and different things that are out there, that unless you have the actual training, or unless you actually train yourself and actually read all of the stuff, the contraindications, should you not, you know, you don't just go out there and just because you see someone else doing it, or you hear some physical therapist or some personal trainer out there saying, oh yeah, you should get this, and then go get it. Like, do your research. Do your research and find out, should I do this? Is this beneficial for me? Go speak to someone who actually has had the training before you actually go jump in there and get these things and try it on yourself. Okay, stretching has been part of physical culture for centuries, appearing in practices like yoga in India and martial arts in China and Japan. From the 60s to the 80s, stretching gained popularity in the West as part of a general fitness routine and athletic training. Stretching is important for maintaining flexibility, improving range of motion, reducing the risk of injury, and aiding recovery after physical activity. It helps muscles stay healthy and strong, supporting overall mobility and performance. But because there isn't a lot of consistent and solid data on stretching, data, 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 data. What do you say? Leave in the comments below. Data or data? How would you leave in the comments below? If you say data, put a capital A, D-A-T-A. If you say data, just put D-A-T-A. But because there isn't a lot of consistent and solid data on stretching, you have your skeptics that don't believe we need to stretch. Well, if you are on that side of the fence, then I say yes, you are partially correct. It just solidifies my belief that each person needs to be taken on an individual basis. For example, the 1990s to 2000 research found that static stretching before intense activity could actually reduce performance. But that would mostly pertain to sprinters or high jumpers or basketball players, etc., because they need that spring that is created when those muscles are tight. Dynamic stretching would work for those athletes before competing. In the 60s, Bob Anderson played a significant role in popularizing stretching for the general public. His 1975 book, Stretching, became hugely influential and helped bring practice into mainstream fitness. Even though stretching was used in sports and physical therapy before, Anderson's work helped organize and promote it as a daily fitness activity accessible to everyone. It's like I tell my clients, when we stop growing, we have to take into consideration gravity and life activities and genetics. By that, it's like, so when we reach a point when we've stopped growing, okay, and with gravity, along with, say, if you sit at a desk for hours on end, or whatever the case may be, you've got that compounding, you got all of that nice cushioning in between your discs, the cushioning in your shoulder joints and your hip joints, all you've got that nice cushioning that eventually starts to wear away. And you've got what's called bulging disc, herniated disc. Eventually, that nice cushioning goes away, and then you could end up bone on bone. You don't want that, because let me tell you, case in point, I was working on a client, been working on her for a while, and just whatever I was doing, it was just like you'd get into certain areas, and just the pain, just doing certain things, certain stretches, and I'm just like, I don't know, some just doesn't seem right. I think maybe you should go get some imaging done, because I have a feeling you might be bone on bone. Well, she went in, got imaging done, and sure enough, right in that hip was just solid. It was just bone on bone, and it was just painful. And the doctors and the surgeons couldn't even believe, after seeing all the imaging, like, how are you even moving? She was on a walker, and it just progressively got worse. Fast forward, had surgery. She even explained how the surgeons had to get in there and get up on the table and just try to, yank that out of there. And then they had to, do their magic. And now she went from hunched over on a cane to, not fully upright, but way better, and not using a cane. Not 100% of the time. I'd say she doesn't use the cane or the walker a good 80% of the time. And that, and is now on a stretch routine, and getting the massage and doing that consistently so that she doesn't end up with the same thing on the other side. But, like I said, if our bodies are amazing. This is why I love doing what I do. And if I had had the funding and I had someone kicking me in my butt to push me, like, school was just not really my thing. I just wasn't motivated enough to stay in school. If I knew then what I know now, then I would have been a lot more motivated. I wish I had, because I would have pursued, probably I would have been a surgeon or a physical therapist, something to do with the human body, just because I'm fascinated with the human body. It's just so fascinating to me from a cellular level, and just the process, and just we have these amazing vessels, right? That we take for granted. We completely take for granted, and we're just shoveling in all of this processed food, overly processed food. Hey, I am one of those that was completely that way, just sugar, 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 and just crap, 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 and my justification was I work out all the time, so I'm burning through that. Well, no, you know, your body needs the vitamins and the sustenance. The Pacific Northwest is completely deficient in vitamin D. A lot of people aren't taking or even know that you should even be taking vitamin D3K2. Talk to a lot of people. Oh, I take vitamin. Okay, have you had your levels checked? Yeah, they're still kind of low. Well, did you know that you're supposed to be taking vitamin D3K2? The D3K2? D2K D3K2. Yeah. There's certain vitamins that you have to take together in order for the absorbency, in order for them to work. Okay? And a lot of people don't even realize that. They're just trying to shovel vitamins, and some of these vitamins they're getting are just fillers. Do you realize what's even in your vitamins? Are you getting good quality vitamins, or are you getting fillers? Because that's a problem too, unfortunately. Okay? Get your vitamin levels checked. That's what you should do. Get your vitamin levels checked. Anyways, going back. But going back to my client who she got the surgery now, better stretching, so gravity, life stuff, you gotta take you're not people don't take that into consideration. And so then, then and now we've got these screens where, we're constantly looking down like this, or on your computer. So now we've got term FHP, forward head position, that we've now created because we're like this. Okay? Constantly looking down. I am constantly looking at people. I like to people watch, and I watch, seeing people like this, looking down, just the different, I see this, and I don't know how many times I'll be walking by people and I'm like, I'm come here, I want to work on you. But stretching, you need to get on a good stretch routine. It's a good stretch and resistance training. Okay. Now, you don't have to go to a gym, go get a gym membership. You can get some nice exercise bands, a couple of, dumbbells, kettlebells, and do this stuff at home and just figure out what works for you. Okay. But just do it. You keep telling yourself, "Oh, I'll do it." Before you know it, years have passed. I've kept telling myself I was going to practice guitar and teach myself guitar. Okay? And like when did I tell my years, the 10 years. If I had practicing every day when I said, to teach myself guitar, I would be sitting here and I'd have my intro for my podcast playing on a guitar, that I had taught myself. But no, it's like you get caught up before you know it, time has passed, and then you're like, "Ah," right? I could have gone back to school, and had several degrees. But I kept telling myself, putting it off, okay, maybe I will go back to school. Maybe I will go back to school. Maybe I will go back to school. And then I just get caught up in work and try, in life, and then fast now I'm going to be 55 and it's like go to school. I ain't got time for that. So yeah, get yourself on a good stretch routine, because stretching, it is important. Okay, it is important. It really is. It's important. To not stretch is you're doing yourself a disservice. And if you disagree with me, please leave in the comments. Like I said, leave me an email. Let's have a dialogue. Let's talk about it. Let me know why you don't think it's important that we should be stretching. Ongoing research offers mixed results depending on the type of sport, duration of stretch, and when it's performed, either before or after exercise. The value of stretching depends on individual goals, such as flexibility versus performance versus relaxation. We know that stretching has been around for centuries through physical artifacts, writings, and continued traditional practices. Stretching is a simple yet powerful practice that supports overall health, enhances physical performance, and promotes long-term mobility. Whether you're an athlete, a desk worker, or anyone in between, incorporating regular stretching into your routine can improve flexibility, reduce the risk of injury, relieve tension, and help you move through life with greater ease and comfort. And most importantly, consistent stretching and using the correct stretching technique based on what you're stretching for. Please share with anyone you think will benefit from this podcast. My intentions are purely to share knowledge I have acquired through hours of research, from podcasts to books to professional topics pertaining to health and massage, with occasionally I'm going to also do reviews on certain items and foods and certain podcasts and things like that. I'll have a review podcast that I'll do. So again, if you like this, please share. Make sure you hit that subscribe, like, and all of that stuff. And stay tuned for my next podcast. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do it on because I have a long list. If there's anything that you've been interested in that you want to know more about and just don't have the time to go on a deep dive, then please leave in the comments and let me know. And if it pertains to healthcare or massage, then I will take that journey with you. So thank you for listening. I appreciate it. And you have yourself a wonderful day. And if you haven't gotten your massage scheduled, get on it. Because massage is vital. It's like stretching. It's importante. Importante. Thank you. Peace out. Hang loose. All that.